These two ayat refer to the same situation. Allah speaking to His angels, telling them about the creation of the man. وَإِذْ قَالَ رَبُّكَ لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ إِنِّي جَاعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً. But in Surah Sad, He says, وَإِذْ قَالَ رَبُّكَ لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ إِنِّي خَالِقٌ بَشَرًا مِّن صَلْصَالٍ مِّنْ حَمَإٍ مَّسْنُونٍ. But they are clearly not the same, are they? Allah clearly said two different things in what seems to be the exact same situation. So if it is the same situation, which one happened? Did Allah say, إِنِّي جَاعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً? Or did He say, إِنِّي خَالِقٌ بَشَرًا مِّن صَلْصَالٍ مِّنْ حَمَإٍ مَّسْنُونٍ? Which one was it? And the same with these two ayat as well, which are about one single situation. Allah asking Iblis why he did not prostrate to Adam. And so we ask the exact same question. Which of the two was said and what did actually happen? And these aren't the only examples. There are many of these instances where different ayat talk about the exact same situation and about things that were said in many different ways, especially when telling stories. So what is actually going on here? Well, first, to answer the most important question, when we see something like this in the Quran, which of the two did happen? And the answer is both. But then how? Shouldn't this be like one thing or the other? So how is it that both have happened? Well, the Quran presents its stories in a unique way, rarely mentioning a single story or event just once. Instead, most stories are repeated 2, 3, or even more times. Each time a story is retold, it appears in a different context, revealing a specific detail that align with a surrounding message and contribute to a more complete understanding of the narrative. And then when each of these details is put together, they present us with the full picture. You see, the Quran is not telling stories for the sake of telling a story, and that's it, so that they have all to be told chronologically from beginning to end and in the same words. But rather, they are told for a certain purpose, a certain wisdom, to highlight a certain situation that we can learn from. Now, not for comparison, but just to highlight the point. Imagine a father having a talk with his son, talking to him about the importance of prayer, being patient, and to be good to his mother. Then, days later, the son gets really angry. So the father says, "Didn't I tell you to be patient and not get angry?" Then, a day later, the son is late for prayer. And so the father says, "Don't you remember that I said to you how important prayer is and that you can't delay it?" Now, here, it doesn't make sense that every time the father brings up the original talk to mention every detail and every point he said, but rather, he only mentions the relevant point to the context at hand. At the end of the day, the father did say all of these points and only mentions what is relevant to the situation. So, in the story of Adam, in its first mention in the Quran, it was more suitable when mentioning Adam as being the father of mankind, the viceroy on earth, and the one who was favored with knowledge that the angels didn't have. It was more suitable not to focus too much on him being made from clay, but this detail was mentioned in another surah where it made more sense to highlight that fact and show the angels' obedience and Iblis's disobedience and arrogance. These two details together give us the full picture of what happened in that particular situation. An even clearer example is the mention of Prophet Musa, peace be upon him, who was the most mentioned prophet in the Quran because of how many times parts of his story were told and retold multiple times. And when putting all these details together, they give us an amazing picture, like a jigsaw puzzle pieces fitting perfectly together. Just like what we see happening when telling the part about Prophet Musa seeing the fire. It was mentioned in Surah An-Naml, was mentioned in Surah Al-Qasas and was also mentioned in Surah Taha. And every time it was mentioned, he said something different. He said qabas once, another time jadwa, and another time huda. So what should we understand from all of these pieces together? Well, in the first example, the word qabas, a torch, conveys the need of a source of light, which then means that it had gotten dark and they needed a torch. And in the second, the word jadwa conveys a burning hot piece of wood, which then conveys the need of a source of warmth. So it shows that it was cold at the time. And the last, the word huda, means seeking guidance, conveying that they were lost and didn't know which way to go. So then, putting all these versions or details together, we can see the full picture of that event. And we realize that Musa was lost during a night which was cold, but it was also pitch dark. And then, most importantly, every mention of these little details came to fit exactly into the context where they were mentioned. And so, if you try to reposition any of these seemingly similar ayat, you will directly see how out of place they look, both in meaning and their literary style. And that is because each ayah fits perfectly in its position to contribute to the perfection of each surah and of the Quran. Thanks for watching. If you want to start learning the tajweed, then start with this playlist. And also, don't forget to check my latest book about tajweed and download the companion app. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.